Okay.
Ready when you're ready?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone.
Good evening. This meeting is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings adopted at the organizational meeting held on January 3rd, 2024. Adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Kenilworth Board of Education has been provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the local source on January 11th, 2024. A copy has been filed with the Kenilworth Borough Clerk, posted in the board office, the Kenilworth Borough Hall, Brearley, and Harding Schools, as is provided by the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. Canal. Please rise and join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ganella, can we please have roll call?
Yes. Viner. Here. David. Here. Drogan.
Here.
Ferrara.
Here.
Tabitha.
Here.
Wadati.
Here.
Panici.
Here.
Tiers.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll now have the receiving of the minutes and committee meeting notes of the secretary. Can I please have a first motion for acceptance of the regular BOE meeting minutes of the secretary from April 8th, 2024 and April 29th, 2024? Second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Haberthur, seconded by Mrs. Tiers. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion's carries. I'm asking please for a second motion to accept the committee meeting notes from April 15th, 2024 from the Personnel Committee, April 17th, 2024 from the Curriculum and Instruction, and May 6th, 2024 for the Superintendent Search Committee.
Motion.
Second, please. Okay, motion made by Mr. Biner, seconded by Mr. Haberthur. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you very much. We now will ask for reading and acceptance of any monthly correspondence. Mr. Ganella, do we have any?
Yes, we have one item, a letter dated April 10th from Mr. Kyler Arlington, Superintendent of Schools, to the Board of Education regarding his letter of resignation.
Okay. Can I please have a motion to accept the monthly correspondence?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Ferrara, seconded by Mrs. Drogan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion's carried. At this time, we'll now have the superintendent's report and committee reports and presentations.
Good evening, everybody. We have several exciting presentations tonight, and we'll start them off with introductions by Mr. Bubnowski.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here tonight because a few weeks back, Harding School had the performance of Willy Wonka Jr. Under the direction and supervision of Mr. Mills, Ms. Boomer, and Ms. Sponey, our students were no short of extraordinary, fabulous, awesome. They always seem to just outdo the last performance by just a hair, or at least right there neck and neck with them. So I am very proud to introduce tonight with us is Ms. Boomer and Mr. Mills, who will introduce some of their shining stars.
Good evening. I want to thank the board for allowing us to come and showing you a quick scene from our production. I want to thank the board for understanding how important music and art is in our community. In a world where data and scores are so important, I'm glad we can recognize that art and music are so important to our students, and it gives them an outlet for something they're passionate about. So without further ado, we're going to have some of our students share with you what we've experienced. And as always, the board and our administration are always invited to the production every year. Thank you. And I want to just thank Ms. Janet Sponey and Ms. Gabriana Boomer, our music teacher, who put in tireless hours, who went above and beyond to make this possible. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm glad this is something I was able to create in Kenilworth. And it gets better and better, as Mr. Bubnowski said, and that's due to the talent and dedication of our teachers.
Thank you.
Do you want them facing the camera, or are you?
The camera.
Let the people at home get a taste of it, too.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
Wonka Chocolate Factory, where history is about to be made. You're all going to meet the chocolate genius of the century. And here he is now, Mr. Willy Wonka!
Come with me and you'll be in a world of your imagination. Take a look and you'll see into my imagination. I am Willy Wonka, the greatest candy maker of all time. I'm sure you two can find your way out.
That's it? What about Charlie's lifetime supply of chocolate?
Yes, each one of our chocolate winners will receive their chocolate. Other than that, this day has been a complete waste of time and chocolate. Good day, sir, and goodbye.
Bye, Mr. Wonka. Mr. Wonka, I'll deserve a lifetime supply of chocolate. You see, I took a sip of the fizzy lifting drink and I broke the rules. Thank you for this wonderful day and for it. It was even better than Christmas.
Bless you, Charlie. You did it. You did it.
Now see here, Wonka. It was my idea to try.
I created this contest with one purpose in mind: to find the perfect person to make my new candy dreams come true.
What do you mean?
This was a test of character, Charlie. I carefully selected the rooms that would tempt each one of our golden ticket winners. You, Charlie, did something quite remarkable. You gave into the temptation, were smart enough to not get caught, and yet you admitted your guilt.
What about the other kids?
They'll be fine. They'll just see the booby prize. A lifetime supply of chocolate.
The booby prize thing, what's the real prize?
Charlie, do you love my factory?
It's the most wonderful place in the world.
I'm pleased to hear you say that, Charlie, because from this moment on, it's yours.
You mean I'm gonna run this whole entire factory? What about Mom and Dad?
Leave them behind. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe come and live here.
I'd love to. I positively love to.
Now Charlie makes, everything he makes, satisfying and delicious.
Talk about your chocolate wishes. You can even eat the dishes. Oompa, loompa, doobity-doo. I got a final puzzle for you. Oompa, loompa, doobity-dee. If you are wise, you'll listen to me. There is a problem with lots of our youth. Not everybody likes telling the truth. Telling the truth starts a beautiful buzz. Isn't it nice when someone does? It could be contagious. Who can take a sunrise? Who can take a sunrise? Sprinkle it with dew. Sprinkle it with dew. Cover it in chocolate and a miracle or two.
Charlie can.
Charlie can! I know that he can.
We know that he can.
We know that he can, 'cause we'll mix it all with love and make the world taste good. And the world tastes good, 'cause the candy man thinks it should.
Thank you all very much for
With Ron, it's good. Can you get these to Ron?
Presentation we've ever
And there
had.
is
I
candy
think.
in the.
That was the best presentation we've ever had. I put it
in a while.
Thank you for bringing
for
it over.
sure. Cut 30 minutes out.
Don't forget your speaker.
Thank you, everybody. You are a very special group with a lot of talent, and we appreciate you taking the time to come out tonight. So thanks for that. You are more than welcome to stay, or this is a good time to leave.
You wanna make it? Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
I wanna go home and watch Willy Wonka now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, huh?
Wanna call Nan up?
Yeah. Just want to say something special about Nan, so I want to make sure everyone's listening.
Sure.
Okay. Next month, we will formally thank Nan Shah for his service as student representative of the board, and also next month, more, dare I say, more excitedly, we'll formally congratulate him as the valedictorian of Burley's class of 2024. This is your informal congratulations. So we're looking forward to your penultimate report tonight. Thank you. Thanks, Nan.
Well, first off, that was a great performance, and good evening, everyone. We're in the middle of AP testing right now. Today was AP Calculus and AP Pre-Calculus. That calculus exam was something. NJSLA testing starts at Briley on Thursday, and there will be several delayed openings for select grade levels who are not testing on different days. Select juniors are taking an SAT boot camp with Mr. Rossetti and Mr. Weinstein, and this will be after school as they prepare for the June 1st SAT. High school final exams will run from June 11th to June 14th, and the Student Council is organizing a volleyball tournament on May 29th at 6 p.m. High school students are encouraged to form a team to compete in a bracket tournament. And also, I just want to take a quick break and mention an event that happened last Saturday. It was the clothing drive, and I saw 2 great board members out there to support. So I just want to mention that. That was a lot of fun. And for end of the year events, which are on the horizon, for 8th graders, the 8th grade dance is May 30th, and their class trip to Dorney Park is June 6th. Middle school awards night is June 11th, and 8th grade graduation is June 17th. For seniors, the senior trip is June 3rd, the prom is June 6th, the ABC Awards and Senior Awards will be on June 13th, and finally graduation is June 18th, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for the candy, everyone. Have a great night.
Next up, Mr. Granello will share 2 presentations, one on the referendum projects and one on the superintendent search.
Good evening, everyone. This is my monthly update, which will go over the various projects. The HVAC projects are progressing nicely at Harding and Brearley. We're almost done with the unit ventilator installation at Brearley. The control work is being done as we speak, and the final completion has improved. We moved that up, anticipated substantial completion in July as opposed to August. So that is good news. We did have one change order on this evening's agenda for additional hot water piping to rooms 202 and 226 here at Brearley. That is on agenda resolution number 8. The field upgrades moving along beautifully. If you were paying attention, you saw a whole bunch of trucks coming in, putting down stone on the field, multiple different layers, different various types of stone as part of the subsurface prior to being the actual field turf being put in. The drainage system is complete. We anticipate the actual delivery of the field turf any day. So we expect those trucks to be rolling in. Take a look at the track paving. It is really going nicely. Lot of asphalt out there. Some of it will be covered with the rubber surfaces. And the fencing work is almost done with that as well. We anticipate the field to be able to be used for graduation, weather permitting. The track will not be put down because there is a time that the asphalt has to cure prior to the rubber surface being put down, and we don't want to jeopardize the damaging the rubber surface when that's put down during graduation. So we'll just wait a little bit while after, but once again, no issues with substantial completion being done when we anticipate it being done. There were some additional change orders there. The additional removal of contaminated soil, some additional fencing, some minor changes to the field turf which required a change order, and then some electrical upgrades for the scoreboard, and then some trench drains that were basically, when they milled the work, got damaged, and they were in pretty bad shape to begin with. So those are some of the change orders that you'll see also in resolution number 8. Just some pictures. They look almost identical every month, but that's what they look like, when you're doing over 100 classrooms, and they all look pretty much the same. The field, you could see some differences there, and even from last week, this is substantially changed from last week. And then finally, the additions, you can see the foundation being laid and poured. Even today, if you go out there, you'll see a big difference. Justin just sent me some pictures, and you'll start seeing the actual concrete block being laid on the foundation, so that's fantastic. We did run into some issues with the transformer, and we'll be getting some additional updates and guidance from PSE&G and our electrical contractors. It seems like the transformer that we have out there needs to be modified, possibly need a new one, and some relocation of some wiring is needed to be done, because it's basically where the foundation in that corner of the building needs to be laid. Here's a picture of the scoreboard. That's what we're looking at doing. Welcome to David Brearley. The top section it's all LED. The bottom section where you see third and 18, that section is all basically a video screen and digital as well. So we'll be able to do some interactive things, and hopefully maybe the pep squad will be able to do some things that you see at other high schools as well as at the college level. So we're looking forward to that. Are there any questions on the HVAC projects prior to us continuing with the second phase of my presentation this evening?
The only question I would have, Vincent, is when you said the transformer issue is a problem because that's where that corner of the building needs to sit. Isn't that something that should have been figured out when they were mapping things out initially?
Yes, two issues with it.
Measure twice, cut once?
There's wiring, conduit where the foundation is. I agree with you. It should have been found, so that's something that we'll be discussing further on. But also the size of the transformer. They should have realized that the size of the transformer needed to be X as opposed to Y. So that's something that we're going to be discussing with our construction manager as well as possibly our attorney.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Fortunately, we found out about this now because the lead time for transformers are 6 to 8 months. So in reality, if we didn't find out about the conduit issue, which was laying the foundation, it might have been another 3, 4, 5 months before we realized we might have needed a new transformer. So, don't disagree with you at all on that. Okay? Superintendent search, survey results, and overall process. The board is dedicated to choosing the most qualified candidate and is excited about the ambitious schedule that we've put together. And the search committee has been working very busy the past couple of weeks. And one of the things that we felt the full board, as well as the community, should be aware of are the results of the survey. The committee, the board received this full packet last week, and it was the basis for some of the work that the search committee did. The purpose of the survey was to gauge the overall school community's aspirations for our next educational leader of the district. The survey focused on experience and skills necessary for the candidates. There were 2 surveys conducted, an internal survey which focused on board members and members of the leadership team, and one focusing on parents, students, staff, and community members. The purpose of the survey was to assist the Board of Education in narrowing the field of 43 candidates, as well as formulating questions that we're going to be using in the various rounds of interviews. During this, both surveys, with all comments, as I said, were reviewed by the search committee and disseminated to the full Board of Education, and they are currently posted as well as in the Board of Ed Microsoft OneDrive folder for your future review. So I'd like to get into some of the specifics. Once again, we're talking about what we focus on: experience and skills. These questions are regarding the experience phase of the survey. Overall, we had 110 responses, 81% coming from parents and guardians, 13% coming from staff, and about 5% coming from the community in general. I felt experience as a superintendent was essential and important. School principal, also essential and important. Teacher, absolutely. So this was absolutely a clear indication that we should not pick an educational leader who actually hasn't been in front of students and taught. Implementing federal and mandated policies, you can see there. It's an important aspect of the job as well. And work experience in a compatible school district. I'll say that there are very few compatible school districts to Kenilworth. We're one of the smallest K-12 districts in the state. As such, some of those experiences are challenging for us to get, but we did get a nice selection of candidates that I think we'll be able to find our next educational leader. And then finally, experience in implementing SEL mental health initiatives. Also majority of people felt that was an important aspect as well. Now moving on to the skills. Skills in public relations is essential. Skills as an educational instructional leader and curriculum development was essential. Skills in budgeting and facility planning was essential for the majority of the people. Skills in short and long range planning was essential. Skills in development, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI initiatives, was for the most part essential or important. And then finally, skills in public speaking was essential. So you can see there, we have to find a very skilled individual who meets all those criteria. That's basically the survey part that I wanted to review. Moving on to the application process, as I mentioned earlier, we received 43 applications via AppleTrack for the position of superintendent. The search committee then narrowed that list to 14 candidates, which they interviewed to determine which 6 would move on to the second round interviews. The second round interviews will be conducted with the full Board of Education participating. So we have a busy week ahead of us. Those meetings have been publicly advertised, though the public will not be able to participate in the actual interviews. We will go into closed session to do those interviews. Depending on the results of those interviews, multiple options are available at the board's pleasure to pursue. They can expand the search if no one or two candidates rise to the occasion. They can narrow the pool to 2 or 3 candidates, or if one candidate rises above all after round 2, they can continue the discussions with that one individual candidate to see if they could come to some type of formal agreement. The board's goal is to approve the final candidate at the June 19th meeting, which would put us in a good position to get the individual in the seat prior to opening the academic year in September. Between the selection and the appointment, there is a series of negotiations that needs to take place, not only regarding the individual's contract, but it also needs to go to the executive county superintendent for his approval. I've spoken to the executive county superintendent. He understands our tight timeline, and he feels he could facilitate that. If we get everything in order and the 2 parties agree, he feels he could meet our timelines. So that's the survey and the application process, and I thank the search committee for their hard work over the past couple of weeks and getting to the point where the full board now can take a look at the candidates. The individuals who aren't part of the search committee now have all the applications, by the way, are in the, all 43 applications have been uploaded to the MS OneDrive, so you've been able to look at those all along. But the 6 finalists are there in paper for you to peruse this week, going into our sessions on Wednesday. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Canal.
Keep going?
Yep.
Yeah. I've been interested personally in teacher leadership for the past 10 years or so. And last year, I began to conceptualize what a teacher leadership program here in Kenilworth might look like. The state of New Jersey now recognizes teacher leadership as a teaching certificate endorsement, which means you can achieve that endorsement, in 2 ways. You can complete a college-approved teacher leadership program, or have a state-approved, or participate in a state-approved program that are sort of like district homegrown programs, and those programs have to meet certain criteria. In our inaugural year, we've begun to test ideas that I hope the district will iterate and improve upon in coming years. I think we have about 15 teachers or so who are members of this academy. You'll hear from some of them tonight, along with Mrs. Bedford, who has been a champion of and partner for this work since completing her own teacher leadership coursework at Rutgers. As you hear about some of the work of our teacher leaders, keep in mind teacher leadership is about building the leadership skills and capacities, we'll probably talk to that better than I can, of teachers to have a stronger influence on student achievement and district culture. Teacher leadership isn't necessarily about preparing teachers, or at all, about preparing teachers to become administrators. It extends beyond merely having teachers be part of a committee or engage in shared decision-making. That's important too, but teacher leadership really is about teachers who want to remain in the classroom but have a further reaching arm and a stronger sphere of influence. And research suggests that districts with strong teacher leadership also have high achievement rates. We're lucky enough to have some teacher leaders here tonight who are going to share a little bit about their passion projects. But first, I'm pleased to turn it over to Mrs. Bedford. She will sort of frame the conversation. I think it's on the podium. Oh.
What button do I push? No, I don't know.
What, the forward
Little
button?
arrows.
The red, the side ones?
Yeah.
All right, hello, good evening. Welcome to our restaurant, our Teacher Leadership Academy restaurant. We are here to cook up some ideas for you and explain to you what we've been doing for the past, almost a year now in our restaurant of Teacher Leadership Academy. Everything's got to have a food-related theme to it, so here we go. I'm pushing a button. Yay! Okay. So when you get ready to go food shopping, to have your restaurant, you need to go food shopping, right? So here's our grocery list. So teacher leadership started off, as most things have started off with me recently, in the pandemic. You're home, you're trying to figure stuff out, you got all this pile of things that you didn't do during the rest of the time. That's where we got our book machine, that's where we did our staircase spectacular. And one of these, for more of a personal, like, hey, I need something else for myself, I need to do something different, it's a different part of my brain, teacher leadership certification. Now, of course, there's like different programs, as Mr. Arlington had mentioned, that you could get your certification from. But being a Rutgers grad through and through, I needed to make sure I can go to Rutgers and get my certification that way. And, you know, Vincent and I can like bond over that again. So kind of interesting going back to college after all those years. And so I went and got my teacher leadership certification. And there was 4 components in the Rutgers program. Every program can do a little bit different. There are some certain, as we mentioned, state standards. But their program focused on theory and practice. Not my most favorite part, but theory and practice, where you learn where this all came from, right? And so you learned about the history of teacher leadership. As Mr. Arlington spoke, you know, it's not just people that want to become actual real admin. In fact, you know, I've been asked several times in my life, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be an admin? And I'm like, no way, no thank you. And this is actually the most perfect way to be in the classroom, stay with the kids, sing silly songs and throw glitter, but also use a different part of your brain and develop more as an actual individual and a teacher leadership in the community. So theory and practice, we learned the 3 different waves. That's a whole big history lesson there, and really dove into what leaders are. Are you born a leader? Or do you become a leader? How does that work? Then the second prong of the Rutgers program is school community relations. Huge prong, I should really say, is so that, you know, this is not just me in a silo or any teacher leader in a silo learning and becoming a leader on their own. We're taking what we're learning and developing ourselves as human beings and going out into the community because we are such central figures in the community. Let's bridge that gap. So school community relations, teacher as researcher, which sets up part of, that was my third course, sets up as part of what we did our passion projects. We'll get to that in a minute with our lovely other teacher leaders here. And then finally, their fourth angle is leading for social justice. Where are we going to take this? Where are we going to go going forward? World is changing. Here we go. We're going to be leaders in all aspects of the community. I love this button. So now I'm doing that, and Mr. Arlington puts out an initial call to action. And we had about 26 teacher leaders originally sign up, which is really fascinating because there wasn't any sort of real agenda, which did come back in some of our surveys later on, but we didn't have a real clear agenda, and that was by design. So there are 3 ways of teacher leadership: the historical, the kind of what people were doing, and now going forward. And the going forward is that we can create this and make it be whatever we need it to be. Honestly, being here for years, whatever the best things that have happened in Kenilworth are because we did it ourselves. And we really should have marketed a lot of those things and made a lot more money, but we didn't, but we have that many cool ideas here. So Mr. Arlington put out his initial call to action. We got about 26 people that were going to sign up. Again, God bless them all because there really wasn't a super agenda. And then we moved on to our summer program. So last summer, we had a workshop, 2-day workshop, and myself and Mr. Arlington and Mrs. Heipel and Mrs. Kuklo, we all kind of like banded together. We threw everybody in the cafeteria over here at Brearley, and we had 4 aspects to that. The community building, and that was community building among ourselves. How can we go out into the community and put all these pieces together if we're not a community ourselves? And plus, we had everybody, people from every aspect of teachers and speech pathologists and just name it, everybody in this community. People that I don't get to see because I'm at Harding. Probably don't get to see us. So we got to hang out and become ourselves a community. By doing that, we can now take chances and we can take risks and we can become teacher leaders. Then we went to the whole history of teacher leadership and we did escape rooms, and I was really, really proud of that. And it was really exciting. And if anybody wants to learn how to do it, I can be the new Ms. Rifkowitz and teach you how to do escape rooms. I was very excited about that. And then we worked on sharing our visions. Where do we see ourselves as teachers? Where do we see ourselves going? We made our charcuterie boards again because everything's got to have a food theme. And then we started talking about our planning for our future passion projects, which we'll be talking about in a minute. So there's really a couple aspects of being a teacher leader, right? So you can be in your classroom leading, you can be in your school, you can be leading, in your team you're leading, in the district and the community. So we're trying to develop teacher leaders to have all of those different components to them. Teachers are not just the person that stands up in the room with kids all day long. We have passions, we have projects, we have ideas, and we care about where we are. So let's bring all that together and be teacher leaders. So then in this inaugural year. We had 4 after-school meetups, and after conducting a survey of certain topics that what did we want to talk about, our focus this year was how to work with different kinds of people. We went on a little field trip, in quotes, to a zoo, and we learned about the menagerie of different animals, like a tiger. A tiger is a person that is highly vocal, can be argumentative, needs to challenge, is reactive. Or an ostrich. An ostrich is someone that is very stuck with the status quo and, avoids change. Then there's the mole, and there was a snail, and we learned all about the different kind of archetypes. So that when you go out and you're going to now become a teacher leader, how do you work with people? How do you talk to different people? And then that was the developing people as a teacher leader part of this. And then the really exciting, cool part where we get to use different parts of our brains is when we took our teacher leaders in and had them do their passion projects. So we have 3 different passion projects to share with you today, each representing another little part of being a teacher leader and putting these pieces together. So the first part is going to be our appetizer. Before we do that, I forgot to tell you, our overall themes. So when we did all this, we realized that there's, in Kenilworth, and I was working with Dr. Carolyn Ross at Rutgers, that our 3 overall themes and where we want our Teacher Leadership Academy to go are that we have teaching through learning opportunities, we learn through doing. We're practicing hanging out with different kinds of people. We're practicing conversations. We're practicing making ourselves better people. We are a community of like-minded people. And finally, that we have a potential, a giant, huge, massive potential to make really, truly positive change in our culture and climate in Kenilworth. So now we can go on to our appetizers. So for our starters, I'm going to get, do you want to hold the clicker? Sure. Because it's very exciting. Okay. There's the clicker.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alexis Pulaski. I'm the intervention coordinator. So Mrs. Rifkowitz, our technology facilitator, and I wanted to find a way to disseminate information in a variety of ways. So we get a lot of emails that go out to the community, but teachers also get a lot of emails. We have announcements that are made, but we wanted to another way to just give information about the community, about what's going on at each individual school throughout the district. And so we really want to start a podcast called EduVentures. So the adventures that are happening in education, particularly here in Kenilworth. So some of our ideas for the podcast are to discuss some of the initiatives happening, spotlight some teachers and different staffs, not just people in the classroom, but anyone that works in the district. If a board member would like to be part of the podcast, you are welcome to join us. The janitors, speech therapists, anybody that we would like to spotlight that isn't just working specifically in the classroom. Any school events that are happening, like Mrs. Bedford said before, sometimes Harding, we're kind of in our own circle. Here at Burley, we're in our own circle. So sharing that information across schools, doing feature interviews, and we'd like to do a teacher giveaway, something small, but one of our first ideas we actually sent out a survey to staff to ask about topics that they're interested in. We took all of those people that did the survey so far, and we will be putting them on like a spin-a-wheel on our first episode. So this summer, we'd like to map out what our episode structure is going to look like, the components we want to include in our podcast. By the end of the summer, we want to record our first episode and have that released to the community by mid-September and put out a few throughout the year. My goal is maybe 6 for the year, but that might be far-reaching. So that is our passion project. We both are into technology, want to find ways to include people in the communication process, and so we're looking forward to releasing that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis.
So for your appetizer, that's really an internal, it started off as internally, talking to teachers, talking to staff members, how can we connect that? So now to go more out to the community for our main course. And he is sporting his apron. Thank you very much. And you're going to have the clicker.
Fancy clicker. Good evening, everyone. I feel super fancy tonight. I don't cook, so this is a lot for me. It's been truly an incredible opportunity to work with like-minded colleagues to look for solutions and to trying to bridge that gap between the schools and the community. And through my own personal passion project, I like to focus, or I am focusing on increasing that community engagement through language learning. In a world that's becoming more diverse by the minute, learning or speaking a different language becomes very essential. And at times, it opens doors to opportunities. So what better way than to provide our community with a free event that allows them to learn Spanish for free. We hosted a trial run or pilot event where we had 56 community members join us. That number was quite impressive, given that it was our first event, in which everyone interacted with basic conversational Spanish in the topics that you guys see up on the screens, like introductions, high frequency words, food, clothing, colors, travel, and resources. And it was truly an incredible experience to see students teach our community members, whether it was mom, dad, or even grandpas. So that was quite interesting. My vision for this project, we first started with our pilot run, which was a huge success. Right now we are in the process of reflecting. We did collect some data from our participants and how they felt throughout the night. It was a 1-hour event, quite a short amount of time, but my goal is to promote more collaboration with school and community volunteers that can sort of allow us to expand and provide this event perhaps at least 4 times throughout the year and build upon everyone's learning as we continue to grow. And I am super excited and nervous and just hopefully we want to make sure that this is available to the wider community. Bless you. And that is it for my presentation.
So we had our appetizers with our kind of internal. We have our community, again, reflecting the tenets of teacher leadership. And now we're going to have one that kind of is going to mush the two together for our delicious dessert. So come on down. Who wants to control?
Let Jamie be in control. Good evening, board. I'm Mrs. O'Connor, this is Dr. Hill, and this is Ms. Bartman, and we're here to discuss our passion project. We have decided many moons ago, prior to Dr. Hill joining us, we had done a Disability Awareness Day with a previous occupational therapist long before the pandemic, and it was a really big success. And our passion project is to have our general ed population have some simulations of what it might be like to have learning differences and to hopefully promote empathy and understanding and maybe encourage them to start more of a social interaction, because at times children don't understand what other people are going through and they need a little reinforcement, a little knowledge about, everyone learns differently, and this is what maybe some of our classmates are going through, and maybe this will help them. So we are going to have 2 days next week where we are going to have stations where students will be cycling in like half-hour blocks, and we are going to have them understand what it might be like to have some type of a learning difference. We're going to have children read things that a child with dyslexia may have difficulty. We're going to have children use an AAC or an augmentative communication device to pass on the message to one of their friends. We're also going to facilitate them using some difficulty with fine motor. We were going to put maybe oven mitts on them and have them do a fine motor task. And then we're going to have them try to perhaps walk through a little bit of a hallway on crutches or a maneuver with a wheelchair. We just think it's very important for our children to engage in dialogue and hopefully foster some interaction and more tolerance and more acceptance of children who perhaps learn differently. So that is our passion project. Go ahead.
And I think finally we were kind of trying to integrate it on how the kids can utilize this information a little bit better. So we were going to work more on how they can kind of more on focus a little bit more on ableism, and that just because a child's in a wheelchair doesn't mean that they were not able to engage in play, and what types of activities could you play with a child that's using an AAC device or a child that's that's in a wheelchair, because I think sometimes they just play with their little cliques and they do the things that they like to do, and sometimes they don't think to include another child because they might not be aware that the child is able to participate in this activity. So I think we're going to have like surveys and things on ways that you can play with a child that may have some sort of disability, because I feel like using an AAC device, a child may shy away from joining them, asking another child to engage with them just because they feel like maybe they don't know what it is. They feel like the child might not be able to participate, but really showing them that just because you have some sort of disability doesn't mean that you can't play. So we want to kind of teach them essentially how to incorporate others into their play activities on the playground and things like that.
Yeah, and then encourage it into other settings. So then on the playground, having them be able to join in playing different sports. I think sometimes we put on like the last side, like meaningful interactions. Like sometimes you can put kids into groups and they still might talk to the cliques. We really want to kind of foster that so that they can carry it over into all settings, into different classrooms and the playground, and make some meaningful connections with other students.
Thank you.
So now that you visited our teacher leadership restaurant, we're going to make some reservations for next year. And going forward, what are we doing with this? So we're going to book your table now, get on the waiting list. We'll have another summer meetup and go over some new topics, see what we're going to plan for the next year. And we're going to next year do more PD topics. We'll have those after school sessions again, where we can meet together and build ourselves as people, build ourselves as teacher leaders, and they'll be given time for the passion projects. I'd also like to mention that these passion projects, which is interesting because teachers are we have our lesson plans and we have our syllabus and we have to do this and da-da-da-da-da, and we're very, very type A people a lot of times. And this is purposely taking our teacher leaders out of their comfort zone and not giving them these super detailed directions, which has caused a little bit of angst, but it's to let them realize that this is not something that has a start date and an end date. So if, the conversation cafe that happens, it starts off with 56 people and then it morphs into something completely different and we go a different direction, that's fine. Let's utilize the talents and the amazing people that we have here and develop them into who they potentially could truly, truly be. We spend our days taking the students of Kenilworth and making them to be the best they can be. Now we're also taking the teachers and making them the best they can be as teacher leaders and giving them this outlet so that, you have this idea and you've wanted desperately to do it. Well, let's learn from the pandemic. Let's learn from all this and find that time and do it. So I have to just 1,000% say thank you to this board. Thank you to Mr. Arlington for agreeing to do this vision. Thank you to everybody that's jumped onto this. It's been an interesting, fun, amazing, food-filled ride because there's always food involved. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And we look forward to sharing with you where our projects are going and where we go next. So feel free to come on and stop by. And there is always food, so we have cookies. Thank you. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Mrs. Bedford.
You're welcome.
Quick question, do you, does the group, thank you for the great work that you're doing. Do you anticipate inviting other teachers to join this summer to kind of hop on to what you guys are doing?
Yes, that's actually something we're going to be discussing going forward is, so we have this initial cohort, and then, they were our guinea pigs in our experiments, and we're working with them, and they've been phenomenal at that. And how are we going to now do year two, maybe, I don't know if we're going to actually necessarily get to year 2 just yet, but we are going to start bringing in more people, and that is the ultimate goal. Because as part of creating us as better teachers and better leaders and making us connect with the community, let's work on the culture and climate and make this be a place that is just so ridiculously amazing that maybe we actually can capitalize on some of this sometime, and all of that, and just take it to the next level. So hopefully, yes, you tell your friends and you tell your friends and so on and so on, just like the commercial.
Thank you.
I have a clicker, okay?
I have this, so I could easily get you out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have my music, but fine.
I think it was a really smart move, Alejandro, to collect data around, or feedback, right? Nobody wants to hear the word data. Got it. Feedback, right? Because it's great to walk away from that experience and think, oh, this was great, but what did the actual participants think, And I wonder, Jamie, your group and the third group talked a little bit about transferability, right? So you have these opportunities for kids, and then how do you see what's stuck? And I'm just wondering where maybe feedback plays into that too, both for the people who are going through the experiences, the kids who are going through those experiences, but also the kid who maybe benefits from his peers being more inclusive, right? Like, did those experiences matter to the kid using assistive technology? Or there's just like something there that I'm lingering with. Yeah.
And we've thought about like next year, especially with the LLD program.
Yeah, right.
Incorporating those students and maybe they can come and have it as a project to set up something and then use it during our disability meeting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What a good work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you back the clicker.
Anyone else have questions or comments for Ms. Bedford or the team?
And let me just tell you too real fast that I'm talking to Dr. Carolyn Ross, who's been the person that my kind of go-to person at Rutgers. We are, again, a trailblazer and really cool people here. Because this is, and my talking to her of how we're doing our program, she's like, you really are being allowed to do all that? You're really being given the opportunity to do all that? She's like, that's what my goal is, to try to get that into everybody's district. And Dr. Mangan as well at Rutgers. So like, thank you again for letting us be a pioneer and try this. And the ultimate goal is that this will not die. And these people, we can take our projects and morph them and do it and just make this place amazing. So thank you again.
Thank you for your work on this project. It's really special, and I'm really proud of everybody involved. Thank you. Yeah. For the final section of the agenda, I'd like to share a few notes in response to my resignation, but ahead of that, I want to point your attention to this month's HIB report. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
There are two cases of HIB. One is unfounded at Brearley, and one is founded at Brearley. These occurred during the month of April, and so later in the meeting, you'll be voting on the report I shared with you from March. Happy to take any questions.
I think we need another minute or so.
Okay.
Do we need another minute? We have time? Sure, absolutely.
This infraction, am I allowed to, like, the possession charge?
The question is about, yes.
I'm allowed to,
Yeah.
is that like the same case as the Swiss Army thing?
Mhm.
That's the same one, or? Okay.
What's the boozy fad? Huh? That's the question. What is that? We'll tell you later.
It says it in there.
Says it in there.
On the next page.
Were you like looking for a picture or something?
Good. Any questions or more time, or no? We can if we need.
Okay. In anticipation of the board's acceptance of my resignation later in tonight's meeting, I'd like to use 10 minutes or so to share some appreciation notes and reflect a bit on my time here in Kenilworth. I've learned through experience that it's nearly impossible to include everyone when delivering a list of thank yous. In my 5 years in Kenilworth, I appreciate the incredibly impactful opportunities I've had to interact with internal and external school community members. In some way, big or small, know that you have shaped who I am as a leader and a human. And I hope that, mentioned or not, you believe as I do that our interaction has somehow helped advance the Kenilworth schools. My first board meeting in March 2019, a week after I started, was moved from this boardroom space to the cafeteria to accommodate the number of people in attendance. It took months to follow up with those who attended that meeting, as they shared what they loved about Kenilworth, their concerns, and their hopes and dreams for their schools, which most characterized as the heart of this community. I'm proud that with the help of my team, we've addressed and assuaged so many of those concerns. Some of those concerns still linger. New ones have surfaced since and have been solved, and new ones have surfaced since and we're still working on them. And likely, new ones will surface tomorrow. That's the nature of schools. They're terribly complex organizations. And given that they exist to serve kids, we benefit, I think, when we recognize that the stakes associated with schools and with getting them right are pretty high. Two events seem to hallmark my time here in Kenilworth: the COVID pandemic and the passing of our October 2022 referendum. In February 2020, I remember driving home one night thinking that after a year of serving as superintendent, I finally felt like I'd gotten rid of my sea legs and was on firmer ground in my new role and in a new district. I shared the sense of optimism and confidence that I was feeling with my wife, who was watching the news when I came home. She responded by saying, "Have you heard of this thing called the coronavirus? They're saying schools will be closed for like 2 weeks." I responded by scoffing at the mere idea. Impossible. How could schools be closed for 2 weeks? Well, you know what happened next. Through strong communication and collaboration, we opened our doors in September 2020, when many districts were still remote. We rejiggered personnel, constantly revised health and safety protocols, and tried our best to continue our focus on academic achievement, despite the unknown obstacles before us. Fact sheets, videos, website updates, and lots of communication helped to build a can-do spirit in the face of COVID-19's dark landscape. COVID provided us with a high-stakes, no-nonsense opportunity to grow our district-wide communication practices. During COVID, we implemented our Friday folders, regular principal updates, and special themed updates from the district's major departments like curriculum and instruction and student personnel services. Thank you to the community for your faith in me during this time. If I thought I had thick skin before COVID, leading schools during the pandemic turned my thick skin into Kevlar. Still, at the time, I tried to practice grief-conscious leadership and lead with my humanity first. I hope the community felt that, and if you did, I appreciate you being open to receiving that humanity and treating me in kind. I also appreciate the community's belief in my future-ready vision for schools, which in part led to the referendum projects well underway. These projects are more than athletic stadium upgrades. In fact, those are just one dimension of several innovative projects. Creating a distinct middle school, investing in science labs, repairing auditoriums, including one that is now more than a century old, and eventually expanding preschool are the crown jewels of the projects. I'm honored to have collaborated with so many of you. Getting the referendum passed was a Herculean effort. There are too many people to thank for that work of passing that thing, but whether you supported that work in public-facing ways or in quiet, behind-the-scenes ways, know that you have shaped this district's future in some significant way. I appreciate the community's trust in me to help design the scope of the referendum projects and put those on the ballot. I do not take lightly any request that asks people to reach into their wallets, particularly given the tough economic climate we currently live in. Still, the community's yes vote reflects a commitment to our current students and generations to come that children's school lives matter. While COVID and the referendum took center stage, as a district, we've notched dozens and dozens of advancements over the past 5 years. A mere sampling includes firming up our early literacy program, which includes a commitment to the science of reading vis-a-vis teacher training in Orton Gillingham. We've added STEM and maker spaces, experience, and environments, enhanced focus on college and career readiness at Brearley, put Chromebooks in kids' hands, migrated from a supervision model of C&I, curriculum and instruction, to a coaching model, invested in human resources leadership, built new programs like dance and esports, and added mental health and behavioral supports for students. Putting these ideas into practice, making them a reality, took a team effort. And I'm incredibly indebted to so many who consider the work of moving us forward part of their own personal passion projects, projects that have had and will continue to have a strong impact on kids. I'd like to recognize some of those groups of people now. I'll start with teachers. Kenilworth is lucky to have so many talented and dedicated teachers. I've seen many of them heed my call for higher expectations for students, to hold students accountable for advanced outcomes, and many have. I've recognized schools are networked within a neoliberal regime, right, where we compete against students. It's a competitive marketplace where students, teachers, schools, and administrators are ranked against each other using high-stakes standardized test scores. Still, I've tried to champion the belief that despite the reality that neoliberalism is seemingly here to stay, there are still ways to puzzle your teacher visions into this network. By teacher visions, I mean ideal images of classroom practice. Being the teacher you want to be and preparing students for a standardized test doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. We can do both. Thank you to those teachers who answered my challenge to take instructional risks and who have said yes to something new. Whether it was a group of teachers who allowed me to help them implement a book club unit on fantasy as genre, or the teacher leaders, so many of whom you heard tonight, who allowed me to learn and think alongside them through the Teacher Leadership Academy, I was happiest here in Kenilworth when I had the opportunity to partner with teachers about their instruction. Therefore, to those who welcomed me into the instructional folds of their work, I thank you and I cherish those moments. A final plea I make to teachers here and everywhere is to believe that kids can do it. But they can only do it if, as adults, we hold them to high standards and believe that they can. If you have been open to having me support the work of navigating the complexities of your classroom life, know that it's been an honor to be in a state of becoming with you. To the leadership team. I feel fortunate to have curated a leadership team that actively and with steadfast optimism and determination leads the work of increasing student achievement day in and day out. Through a series of personnel decisions, I've hired or moved into their current role almost every member of the leadership team as it is currently configured. I'm grateful to have selected individuals who care about teaching and learning, who put kids at the center of their decisions, and who can imagine an even brighter future for the district as an ideal to which they aspire daily. I have learned so much from the collective experience and wisdom of the group. They have supported my school vision and elevated it to heights and new possibilities that have far exceeded my expectations. I'm grateful to have learned and grown alongside you. Mr. Ganella, your decades of experience and institutional knowledge have been invaluable to me. I imagine after a long and successful career, it might be easy to coast one's way into retirement. You, however, resist this easy-to-take path. Even on your toughest days, or days where you're the toughest, your energy you bring to your investment in the town and the district and your desire to see both succeed and flourish is more than encouraging, it's inspiring. To the board, I'd like to publicly express my appreciation to the members of the board. I spend so much time thinking about teaching and learning in school here in Kenilworth and in my own graduate coursework that embarrassingly, I know far too little about my own home school district. There was a time when I thought I could be more attuned to my children's school lives and give back to my community by running for the Board of Ed in my hometown, but alas, my wife swiftly put an end to that idea. Truth be told, I chickened out myself. More than the hours of commitment, I knew I wasn't ready to be approached at Starbucks or on the fields at my children's soccer and softball games and intake concerns, questions, and ideas about my town's schools. Beyond merely the dedication of time to monthly board meetings, committee meetings, and reviewing supporting documentation, I recognize that being a board member comes with a certain way of being in the world, a certain way of being in your community, and it takes an element of bravery. Regarding bravery, social scientist Brené Brown writes, it's akin to being in an arena. Board members, thanks for being in the arena. Thank you for your support, feedback, even when it was spirited, and for believing in me and my vision for what I imagined schools could be. I extend this appreciation to board members who served during my tenure but are not currently sitting board members, Janine Braun and Mark Jankowitz. Further, thank you to Mr. David, who welcomed me when he was board president in 2019, and of course, Dr. Panici, who has been president since. Michelle, thank you. I appreciate your mentorship very much, and your encouragement and belief in me particularly in times when I needed it the most. You've kept me going and connected to the community's life force. On a personal note, I've been privileged enough to have my work supported by my executive assistant, Lisa Casamento. Lisa's work ethic and ethic of care for the district are second to none. How lucky this community is to have someone who cares so much about the success of the schools. As my team knows, I have no hobbies besides reading. Sports confuse me. The pandemic gave me an excuse to stop going to the gym. I haven't been back since. I can't really fix things, and I despise cooking. So yes, teaching and learning is my job, but it's also my passion and my hobby. Literally, it's what I dream about at night. And I feel like leading, teaching, and learning, besides being a father, is my purpose in life. I thank the community and the board for allowing me to do what I love and to do it here. In closing, in November 2018, during one of my interviews for this position, I remember sharing the adage with this board that I still believe in very much. That is, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, go with others. I leave with the belief that together we have taken Kenilworth somewhere far over the past 5 years. I recognize that there's more work to do and progress to make, and I hope that you will link arms with your next leader and go even further. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arlington.
Of course.
At this time, that concludes presentations?
It does.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, we will move on to report of committees, review of resolutions, and board discussion. I'll start first up, Finance and Facilities and Negotiations, Mr. Ladai.
24-25 budget has been approved by the board at, as you all know, at the public hearing on the 29th of April. Mr. Gunnell and the Borough Clerk have certified the taxes for the upcoming school year. The user-friendly budget has been posted on the website. Obviously, the impact of A-4161 and S-38 has not been realized yet. Still waiting. I thought we were here to send and vote tonight, Vince, but.
It passed.
Did it pass? Good. So I was just looking it up. I didn't see it yet, so.
Now it's up to the governor to sign it.
So once the governor signs it, I guess the finance committee and the rest of the board will have to have a few meetings to go over the budget again. So there was a lot of resolutions and there's a lot of paperwork in this packet this week. So a lot of contracts and reviews. So I'm just going to go over the resolutions 9 to 27 are what we consider school year organizational resolutions. They address various items that needs the board's approval to operate in the 24-25 school year. They range from the tax levy to purchasing options to payment requirements to IT systems. Resolution 28, I'm just jumping to 28 because that's Mr. Ganella saw an RFP for food service management company for 24-25. Mascios has submitted the best option, and that's who we're going to go with. Resolution 29 is the approval of the health benefits for the employees for 24-25. So that's all I have. I didn't want to go through all 30 resolutions. I asked you guys if anybody want to take a look at them over the weekend to do so. So, Mr. Ganella, Mr. Arlington and I are ready for any questions that you may have on those 30 resolutions.
Anybody have any questions?
We took care of
Okay. Well, that's it. Negotiations, I'll have to go into during closed session.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Can we? Just to update on I'm not sure if we updated them on the current position of what we did yesterday, or today, what was submitted today, so.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ladati. At this time, we'll now have Personnel and Management, Mr. Haberthon.
Okay. The Personnel Committee met on Monday, April 15th at 6 p.m. The following members were present for the meeting: myself, Committee Chairperson, BOE President Dr. Panici, BOV Vice President Mr. David, and Committee Member Mrs. Strogan. Superintendent Mr. Arlington and Business Administrator Mr. Ganella were also present. Mr. Arlington began the meeting by sharing 2 confidential personnel updates. Next, we reviewed the findings of a study the district recently completed on substitute teachers. The committee supports the recommendation to create 2 stipend positions for subcollers who will follow up and monitor substitute fill rates and outreach to substitute teachers to increase fill substitute to increase substitute fill rates outside of school hours. It was agreed that this would be first recommendation to implement, to monitor its success before implementing additional recommendations. Mr. Ganello then facilitated a conversation about IT staffing. A staffing retention plan aimed at encouraging our current staff to stay was discussed. It was agreed that the IT technicians should be compensated equally to custodians at step 1 of the guide, taking into account their skills and experience. Mr. Arlington then reviewed personnel recommended for non-renewal next year and shared rationale. Finally, the committee discussed the timeline and process for the board's completion of the Superintendent Arlington's evaluation. Given the full slate of spring committee meetings and the district's transition to a new superintendent, the committee recommends the full board not complete the board self-evaluation at this time. The committee's discussion ended with a review of the superintendent search timeline, and then the committee adjourned at 7 p.m. We have, sorry.
I'm sorry, you might want to note that since that we have gotten information from council that we are required to do the superintendent search, so superintendent's evaluation, so we're doing it, right?
No, this was.
The self-evaluation.
Self-evaluation?
The board
Yes.
itself.
Oh, okay.
And then the CSA, everybody was sent the link.
Everyone is doing that, I'm sorry.
Got it.
We don't have to do the board self-evaluation. Right?
No, we do not.
Okay, cool.
This year.
This year.
This year, right.
So-
Thank you.
I'm just looking forward to the Finance and Facility Committee meetings next year. There's 16 resolutions tonight. Resolution 31 is the acceptance, although begrudgingly, of Mr. Arlington's resignation. Resolution 32 is another resignation within David Brearley. Resolution 33 is a revised maternity leave absence request, and Resolution 34 is a regular leave of absence request. Resolutions 35 through 40 are annual employment resolutions for the 24-25 school year. Resolution 41 is the approval of Mr. Ganello's contract. Resolution 42 is the appointment of the school physician. Resolution 43 are general appointments. Resolution 44 is the approval of substitute staff. Resolution 45 is the executive background investigation for the superintendent search. And that is it. Any questions?
Not that you could answer. Oh, it's fine.
Anyone else, any questions for Mr. Haberther? Okay, thank you, Mr. Haberther. Up next, we'll have curriculum instruction, Mrs. Tiers.
On April 17th at 6 o'clock, the curriculum committee met. The following members were present: myself, the committee chairperson, Board of Ed President Dr. Panici, and member Ms. Zimmerman, Mr. Arlington, and Business Administrator Mr. Ganella, and Ms. Heupel. Director of Curriculum Instruction were also present, and Mr. Ferrara was absent. So during this, Mr. Arlington reviewed the list of personnel recommended for non-renewal next year. A discussion of the rationale that informed these decisions were discussed. We discussed which of these positions would be refilled and which ones would not be refilled. We also discussed class sizes in K through 5 in these grade levels. Class sizes will range next year between 18 and 21 students, and class sizes in grade 6 will average 23 students. Ms. Heupel and Mr. Arlington then reviewed a list of expenditures that were eliminated to offset the loss of equalization aid. Despite these reductions, there will be a minimal impact on the district's curriculum, instruction, and educational program. The meeting was adjourned at 6:45.
Ice 3, Matthew.
Sorry. And Matthew's calling.
Thank you.
There's just one resolution tonight. That is the acceptance of the HIB report from March of 2024.
I thought I shut that off. I apologize.
Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Tiers?
Nope.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll now move on to old business. Anyone have any old business? As always, we'd like to remind the public to please look on the website, the Friday folders, for opportunities, community updates, events, and so on. It's a wealth of information and has a lot of dates and times, so please continue to also follow our social media. Yes?
Checking in on tab.
So we had some tentative stuff scheduled for TAB. We'll be looking into it with, the condensed timeline with everything's going on, and then we'll set a date. Been put on pause for right now. Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't.
In light of everything that's going on, we understand your concern. We will meet before the end of the year, but we have a lot going on, and we have to do a little bit of a transition in terms of scheduling because of all the meetings, and we will schedule to meet before the end of the year as promised.
Tab, I also had the opportunity to meet with the KEA president and vice president here today. Thank you. Where this topic came up, we talked about it being a challenge to get names at this time of year. We also talked about ways to improve that moving forward, right? Like set the dates in the summer for the following school year. If there's a better way to run the agenda, use the first meeting of TAB to talk about shared goals and commitments. Maybe one time the administration, or the board comes up with the agenda. Maybe the next time teachers come up with the agenda. So it's not a topic that's forgotten about. Had the conversation just a couple of hours ago. Happy to revisit it. I'm also happy maybe to, in working with Ms. Ryan, put something together for the summer. That just came to me. Maybe that helps address this conversation. So I just thought it off the top of my head, so we could flesh it out with Ms. Campanelli too. Apologies.
I have a question. I didn't bring it up with you. The executive background investigations, is that something that we would do for any kind of position, not just not teachers, but we would check the teachers, but administrative positions that would come up besides superintendent? I know it's costly, but it might be worth doing.
Sure.
I'm just asking, is that
Could
something?
be something to consider. The board could consider. I don't think we should do it for teachers.
No.
It's
Well, you do your
excessive.
You do a little better of a background check.
Even a lot of people, it's excessive. I mean, in a lot of positions, it's excessive.
And also these committee reports, I appreciate them very much. I don't know if everyone does. I'm hoping that will continue because it's because of you that you've helped us a lot to do that, and I'm appreciative of it.
Happy to transition that to my successor.
Thank you.
Anybody under new business?
I don't know if the superintendent can talk on new business, but Mrs. Drogan asked for some information about Winfield.
Yes.
So in compiling this information, you can pass that down. I think it's important that the full board have this information. So I'm not sure what to do with this information or what you want to do with it, but maybe it's a conversation for, if you wanted to, for the Winfield committee of the board to meet. Just so, yeah, I don't know if it's a discussion right now, but I just want to read the chart for you. I guess your question was about how Winfield students are doing?
Yeah, if they're ready when they come in here, are they educated enough to transition easily or comfortably? I know sometimes when they come in here, they're called, it's not always a good relationship. Winfield Park is like outsiders, and
okay.
But I wondered how they were doing scholastically.
Fair. Okay, so what I did then, so that you're aware, and I thought that this could be a starting point, and then if this is not what you're looking for, we could extrapolate on it. So on the left is student ID number. There are 28 students from Winfield across grades 9 to 12. Then that third column indicates if the student has an IEP or not. The fourth column, I was trying to think when you said, are they doing well? Like, what does that mean? So I have their GPAs there. And then in those final columns, the second to last column is how they performed on last year's standardized assessment, the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. So if they're highlighted in green, they pass with a 750 or more. And then the right column is that same metric, but for ELA. If we have the 9th grade students' NJSLA scores from when they were in 8th grade, but they're not in Genesis, which is where I pulled this data from with the help of my assistant, so we can get that. I'm not sure what this tells you unless you put it in conversation with our own students' achievement. Maybe that's something Mrs. Heimpel and I can discuss. Otherwise, it's this sort of standalone data point. I'm not sure how rich it is. I think you'd have to look at the same data for our own Kenilworth students and, yeah, put it in conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is a start, I think, for what you're asking for.
I just want to know if they're ready. Are they coming in with this without having too much trouble learning? I mean, are they coming in ready as much as the other students in this school? Or are they behind? That's basically what I want to know. I don't know what the school system is like over there. I know what it's like here.
Understood.
And I just wondered, are they ready?
So I think this gives you a snapshot of a moment of time of their performance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, this past Saturday, the Tim Carbone Memorial Scholarship Committee had its annual clothing drive at Harding School, and as Nan alluded to in his report earlier, there were a number of students who volunteered to come out and participate in our clothing drive. So on behalf of the committee, which Mr. Ladati and I serve on, I would like to thank our students for participating in the event. It was very successful, so thank you.
Thank you. We wanted to just mention, last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. We appreciate everyone. We know how much hard work it is to be a teacher. We also wanted to thank all the parents, students, the PTOs, and that donated to make the week very successful. We hope that you felt appreciated and enjoyed. Thank you to the board members that contributed for some of the celebrations. We also wanted to wish everybody good luck on NJSLA testing, final exams. We know AP testing is underway, and it's a lot for the school community and families to kind of pivot during the end of the year. It's a lot. There's so many wonderful things happening. It would spend so long to go through everything. Those are just some of the end of year items. And we also want to wish all of our students, we know that there's some rites of passage coming up, prom, 8th grade dance. We hope that everyone has a safe and successful event. Those things are very exciting for students and their families and even teachers. So thank you for that. Anyone else, anything that they'd like to add under new business? Okay, thank you so much. We're now going to open up the meeting to the public for comment. Mr. Miller?
Motion to go into open.
Yeah. Second? Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mr. Haberth. Are all those in favor of going into, opening the meeting to the public?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it, motion's carried. Mr. Ganella?
Yes, public comment is now accepted. The Board of Education sets a limit for the public to speak at the Board of Education to 5 minutes per person unless prior permission has been granted by Board of Education to extend the time pursuant to Board of Education bylaw 0167. For the record, when you approach the podium, please indicate your name and address prior to making your comments.
Thank you. This time, does any public want to make any comments?
Michelle Ryan, Middletown, New Jersey. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. We gather here today to discuss a crucial matter of selecting a new superintendent for our school district, and I stand before you to advocate for the KEA's inclusion in this process in order to represent our dedicated teachers. It is inevitable that teachers are the backbone of our educational system. They are the ones who work tirelessly day in and day out, shaping the minds of our future generations. The association's insights, experiences, and perceptives are invaluable assets that should not be overlooked in the search for a new leader who will guide our district forward. Including the association in the superintendent search process is not just a matter of token representation. It is a recognition of their expertise and a commitment to fostering a culture of shared governance and collaboration within our district. By giving the association a seat at the table, we are not only honoring their dedication, but also ensuring that the decisions made regarding the future of our schools are informed by those who are most directly impacted by them. I urge the Board of Education to consider this proposal seriously and to take proactive steps to involve the association in the superintendent search process. Let us take this opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to collaboration, transparency, and inclusivity to set a precedent for a meaningful stakeholder engagement in the governance of our school district. Thank you for your time and consideration. Together, let us work towards a brighter future for our students, our school, and our community.
Thank you. Any other public at this time like to make a comment? No? Okay.
Motion to close the meeting to the public?
Second?
Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mrs. Drogan. All those in favor of closing the meeting to the public, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion's carried. Mr. Ganello, do we have a need to go into closed session?
Oh, vote on resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading something ahead. So, at this time, can we please have a roll call of resolutions?
Okay, we have 46 resolutions on the agenda prior to going into closed session. Do any of those need to be voted on separately? No? Okay, so this is for resolutions 1 through 46 on the agenda. Biner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Ferrara?
Yes.
Haberther?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Tiers?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
And Panici?
Yes.
Motion's carried unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Ganello. Now, at this time, do we have a need to go into closed executive session?
Yes.
Okay. can I-
Motion to go into closed.
Second. Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mrs. Tiers. All those in favor of going to closed executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion's carried. Mr. Ganello?
Yes,
Are you ready?
be resolved, the Board of Education meet in the private session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the topics of the superintendent search process, employee number 0759, and KEA negotiations, which private discussion is being held pursuant to Section B and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters under discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as final decisions are made and voted upon. Biner.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Drogan.
Yes.
Ferrara.
Yes.
Haberther.
Yes.
Ladati.
Yes.
Tiers.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Panici.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.